FDE モデル海外と日本の違いということで FDE モデルというのがすごい注目され始めていて
Like a lot of FDE is actually discovering the true problem, suggesting a solution that was not the most obvious one.
なんでパランティアを辞めて日本で起業しようと思ったんですか？
I think Japan is the second largest enterprise software market in the world after the US. There's a lot of good talent.
日本で FDE モデルやるならこの辺は注意した方がいいよとかっていうのは
I think there are some key differences in the method of approach, which I've seen from SI companies I've worked with here too. There's a risk that some of that desire to please the customer and do everything that they say, like to the letter, actually is not perfect FDE practice, but that could actually solve the problem, not just what you are asked to build or change.
LayerX の YouTube をご覧の皆さん、こんにちは。今日の動画のテーマは FDE モデル海外と日本の違いということで、今日のゲストはデクランに来てもらっております。よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
はい。で、デクランなんですけれども、もともとですね、パランティアでデプロイメントストラテジストをやっていて、パランティアジャパンの立ち上げにも貢献している方です。で、今は日本でファウンドリーラボという会社のスタートアップをやっています。で、現在この LayerX の Ai Workforce 事業の FDE と DS のアドバイザーをやってくださっている方ですね。デクランはいろんな国で DS として働いてきてますので、日本と海外の違いとか、海外で成功した FDE のモデルを日本に持ってくるときにどういう難しい点があるのか、このあたりに関して伺えればなというふうに思っております。よろしくお願いします。なんでパランティアを辞めて、でまた別の会社を辞めて日本で起業しようと思ったんですか？
There are personal reasons. I really enjoy the lifestyle here. I think that the quality of life is much higher for the same sort of cost, and you have so many opportunities both to get to other parts of Asia and within Japan. And that has benefits when starting a startup. You can hire very high quality people quite inexpensively compared to other places. It attracts global talent actually because a lot of people from Europe and America and everywhere, as well as Japanese engineers, choose to live in Tokyo. Starting a business here in the AI sector, we've actually found there's a lot of good talent. It's actually a great market. I think Japan is the second largest enterprise software market in the world after the US. So there's a lot of customers, big customers, who want, digital transformation, who want to use software. There's a big emphasis on increasing efficiency, but also the challenge. People are still using a lot of older technology. There's a gap in adopting a lot of newer technology, and so trying to solve that is both a great opportunity and interesting challenge, I think.
この 1,2 年ぐらいですね、日本でパランティアとか FDE モデルというのがすごい注目され始めていて、SNS ではですね、FDE モデルって何なんだとか、FDE ってこういう人なんだ、DS ってこういう人なんだっていろんな議論が起きてます。まずこれはデクランさんは知ってますか？
Yeah, it's interesting. I think suddenly the word became very popular. Try and introduce this role and use it in their companies. I think it's like many things. There is a risk that it's just becomes another buzzword, and so people can say, I'm doing FDE, but they just mean your engineer goes to the client's office. Whereas really it's a whole mindset and way of working.
What are your thoughts on other companies trying to learn from Palantir and trying to reproduce Palantir's success?
It's great that people are picking up on this finally, and I can see why that's happening now. I think that as the speed of building software, or at least the perception of the speed of building software, has become so fast, customers are more and more sensitive to wanting not one size fits all solutions, but something that really solves their specific problem.
まずこのデプロイメントストラテジストっていうのはどういう役割だったんですか？
Deployment strategist is the complementary role to FDE for deployed engineer. They were often referred to as Echo and Delta, where Echo is the deployment strategist. It's not exactly like any other role. And honestly, it would depend on the person. People were hired for deployment strategist role normally a little bit later in life, like many FDEs might be fresh out of college, 22, 23 years old, whereas deployment strategists could be often more than 25 up to 30s kind of range, even when starting. And it would span sort of everything from solution architect through to consulting, through sometimes to elements of data science and all the way to sales. But I think maybe it's better to give an example of how a deployment strategist works and how they work with forward deployed engineers. Your leverage person, salesperson would introduce you to a client and they'd say, we've picked Declan to be the leader on this project here, and give a rough idea of the problem and introduce you to whoever the point of contact at the client side was. Then it's kind of on the deployment strategist at that stage to arrange, okay, who do I need to meet with next? What are we going to discuss? How do we do the scoping to discover the problem and work out how our technology or some new technology we could build will solve this? So really to get to the core of what is the problem, what are the processes, do that analysis. Then translate that to something that we could build.
そもそもデプロイメントストラテジストはどういうキャリアの人が多いんですか？
A very big variety of the deployment strategists. I think, like I said, people tend to start later. The reason being that you can tell someone's great intelligence or ability to write good code or pass tests when they're much younger. But generally, for deployment strategists to be good at it, you have to have some experience in the world. You have to have shown that you created something or led something important and can just sort of survive a few hard knocks in business maybe. So we had a lot of variety of people. Some of my favorite deployment strategists or people I thought were great actually came from an electrical engineering background, which I think they have a different way of thinking than a software engineer, but still very logical and problem solving oriented, but about something physical. However, we had people who were ex-founders who'd founded a company and left or sold it, or it had failed, but wanted to get up and try again. We had people who came from an academic background, but normally someone who's tried to do something entrepreneurial within that. So there were some people from consultancies, like Accenture, Deloitte, PwC, etc. And I think many of those people struggled actually. Those companies do a lot of impressive stuff, but they are not as focused on creating something that does action, that changes the world, that makes important decisions for people or helps them to make important decisions. And the idea of building a product, I think, is a different mindset than most of those consultancies had. So some of those people really struggled.
最終的にはパランティアジャパンの立ち上げに関わってらっしゃったと思うんですけど、そもそもどういう経緯でパランティアジャパンに関わることになったんですか？いきなり明日日本に行きましょうっていうふうに言われたのか、なんかどういう経緯だったんですか？
So Palantir Japan had actually launched previously and had an earlier version. They had launched with Sompo and done a number of projects. And they continued, but during the coronavirus crisis, they slowed down a lot and reduced size. And there was essentially a relaunch after the borders reopened. And as part of that, I was brought in. So I had been building incubators, we called them, in the UK for healthcare, which were trying to rapidly discover small-scale new projects, new products we could build on top of the Palantir software to help in healthcare settings and to grow those into their own small enterprises. So for Japan, they wanted to take a lot of small contracts and small relationships and find a way to grow those into a large ecosystem, a large number of those. From my experience, I was asked to help out with that and took on this slightly weird role of head of new ventures, which was about that 0 to 1 growth with a large variety. It ended up changing a bit because we then launched AIP. The release of I think at that time ChatGPT 4 revolutionized what was possible to do, especially with smaller scale data. We'd always focused on how do you manage very, very large data sets quickly and combine them together. But we're missing how to automate a lot of processes that require handling documents. There's only a few hundred, there's only a couple dozen, but they've got a lot of information in them. Typically, this is a thing humans still had to do. And so the introduction of these technologies kind of revolutionized what you could do. We pivoted around it. We started making a new product about it, and I started helping to introduce that product here, and particularly working with some of our partners like Fujitsu to enable them to like become a delivery partner at scale and resell globally.
日本で FDE モデルやるならこの辺は注意した方がいいよとかっていうのはありますか？
I think there are some key differences in the method of approach and in how often and how much you push for things. So I mentioned sometimes there's got to be a little tension. You should be looking for things that are maybe not exactly what you were asked, but that could actually solve the problem, not just what you were asked to build or change. Because of the way Japanese companies tend to work with system integrators and software partners in the past, they're not used to that kind of pushback. It has to be done sensitively. Maybe you have to pick the right person, whereas an FDE would directly say this. In other places, the account owner like presents a whole more formalized set of suggestions. Also, we would always emphasize, going on site. Just go there. Just be in the office and like talk to anyone who you can and find stuff out. I think the office culture here is not like that, and often there are even laws about how they can work with contractors and so on. So you can't just send somebody to go and sit on the doorstep until they're allowed in. We have to do more remote things. We have to create the more formal set of steercos and weekly check-ins and other types of like ritual with the customer at the start of the deployment.
今 LayerX の Ai Workforce チームでどんなことをしているのか教えていただけますでしょうか？
For LayerX, I've been advising on how to train FDEs, how to develop as an FDE, the way of working between DS and FDE in particular. So yes, we've done a number of workshops focusing on, I think, certain techniques mostly. So specific examples and specific techniques, both for individual work as a DS or FDE and as teams. So for instance, we did a whole workshop on what a murder board is, which is this technique for preparing under pressure for very important client interactions. We spent time on how to find KPIs that are really impactful and how to present those to customers to grow projects or find new areas of work. And we talked about a lot of the way that DS and FDE can work together to maximize the impact of discovering client problems and rapidly iterating on solving them.
Ai Workforce チームに対する印象はどんな感じですか？
I was really impressed with the kind of questions that people asked me. Clearly, like thinking a lot about how can they go beyond just doing exactly what the customer asks to actually grow the size of their impact. So like a lot of the right kind of thinking like that. I also found like when I was asking people to reflect on what's an example from your day-to-day work of how do you, for instance, deal with customers questioning you about why don't I just build this myself in Claude Code or Copilot? Like show a lot of introspection already about that sort of thing. So I think the raw talent of the team is good. I'm hoping that some of the techniques that I provide or experience that I share can help them mostly think about how to just share that with each other. I think sometimes people had not thought about just sharing everything that they learn so that everyone else can benefit from it. So individuals are getting great learning and experience. And if your whole team can actually share all of that stuff together, then they're just going to continue to be like one great unit rather than a bunch of very strong individuals.
じゃあ逆に伸びしろというか、どの辺を我々はインプルーブすべきだと思いますか？
I think it's those two, similar to what I just said, like building the habit and the muscle of sharing everything, whether that's just through shared documents and emails where everyone says what they've done and what they've learned, and particularly if something went bad, not to hide it, but to say, hey, we had this interaction with the customer and it went badly. We overpromised and we couldn't deliver, or we thought that we solved the problem doing it this way, but we missed an important component. Those are things everyone learns from. And I think the openness of conversation there will help you a lot. And there's also like this formalizing some of that. So just remembering to share or remembering to talk or having casual conversations is not that effective if it's not in a framework of these things like the murder boards, like the things like 5 whys. It's a technique where if things go wrong, how you examine that and make sure it doesn't happen again. Other types of like design review and so on, things that are slightly formalized that you have to do at certain periods in the project. It just means you never forget to do that. And it's all recorded, so new people can pick it up as well. I think those are some of the key things. Maybe one more thing is having, shared, everyone's gonna have different opinions actually, of course, but to come back to the point about, for instance, customers asking, why don't I just build this in Claude or with some vibe coding? And you guys have software that you've spent a long time building, and you have practices that make your ability to execute it and link everything up end to end so much more powerful and less fragile than what someone can do like that. But having the whole team know what is the product vision, and what is the business vision, and feeling like they're part of that same mission, that is so powerful and just means that everyone always knows this is why what I'm doing is the right thing. And I believe in it, so the customer can believe in it as well.
デクランはもちろん自分のスタートアップでいろんなことしてると思うんですけど、改めて今日本で起業してどんなチャレンジというかどんなミッションを持ってるんでしょうか？
Sometimes it sounds a little too grandiose, but like I really want to help grow the AI scene, I suppose the digital enhancement scene, like the growth of companies in Japan. I want to help to make that incredibly successful. I want to help make Japan a place that I can stay in and want to live in for a long time, and to see like a healthy culture of startups where people can feel empowered to start their own enterprises and empower the existing like large traditional Japanese companies with the kind of technology and talent that it might be harder for them to get otherwise. So like, I think that scene is starting to grow now, and I love to see a lot of international talent being attracted to Japan, but also Japan's own engineers getting stronger and stronger. I really think that there's such an opportunity to be like less of just importing things from the US and being able to build more solutions here that can help Japan then sell to the rest of the world and grow that way.
ちょっとデクランから逆に何かご質問とかありますか？
So I guess how do you envisage what the expansion of AI, your version of AI workforce looks like, and is it different from that kind of very American view of completely replacing people? 今いる会社をどんどん効率化していこうっていう以上に、今我々のそのクオリティオブライフをそれを支えているインフラというのがどんどん失われていく可能性があるなと思っていて、でこれが日本の場合は本当にこの5年10年ぐらいでも急激に減っていってしまう、少し人口が多い世代というのが引退していく世代に時間になってますので、結構急な問題かなと思っていて、そこを何とかしたいなと思ってますので、今の生活をどういうふうにもっと維持してさらに発展していくのかっていうところにすごく興味があるなと思います。You've been sending FDEs to work with your clients, your customers. How do you feel that they are responding to the idea of FDE? この 1,2 年ですごい変わったなと思ってまして、やっぱりもともとは FDE っていうのは何ですかっていうところから、こちらから説明するっていう感じでしたけど、結構そのエンタープライズのデジタルの部署の人たちが FDE っていうワードを知り始めてくれているので、そこはすごくやりやすくなってるなと思いますし、単に最初に作るものを決めてウォーターフォールにというよりはアジャイルにどうやってそのビジネスを大きくするのかっていう風に見てくれてるケースも多いので、そこはすごく変わってるなと思います。とはいえ多くの日本のエンタープライズにとってはエンジニアが自分の部署にいたことがないというのがほとんどだと思うので、大きな方向性としては認識してるんですけれども、どうやってエンジニアと一緒にものづくりをしていこうっていう、どうやって一緒にクリエイティブにやっていこうっていうのは初めてな人が多いかなと思うので、そこは一緒に文化を作っていければなというふうに思いますね。今日は本当にですね、デクランからなかなか日本では聞けないようないろんな知見を得れたかなと思ってますので、本当にありがとうございました。引き続きこの YouTube チャンネルでは AI 時代の事業作りだったりとか、DS、FDE のキャリアに関して発信していきますので、ぜひチャンネル登録よろしくお願いします。ありがとうございました。 ありがとうございました。
バイバイ。